Hey, Steve-O. Hey, Wendy.
Hello.
I have to say, it's an honor to have you, but this is the first time I've ever had a dog on stage, so kudos for that.
Cool.
And kudos for this book. How many people got the book earlier today? I highly recommend reading it. We're going to get into it a little bit, and I have to say, I'm someone who's never done a cartwheel, much less a butt chug or any of the stunts that you've done. So I kind of thought I was set up to read a book about a polar opposite. And then I got to the photo of your calendar, which, again, get the book. It is fuller than the most type A among us. Can you talk about your love for your calendar? Because I think it's something that a lot of this audience shares.
Absolutely. I color code my calendar based on the type of activity it is. Just to run through it, I've got production stuff is in red. Actually, shooting stuff is white. Stuff related to 12-step recovery is pink. Stuff that's related to self-care is yellow. Stuff that's kind of administrative or otherwise a pain in the ass is blue. And I've got like podcast uploads as brown, and it just goes on and on. And I truly, I think I could say I base my self-esteem on my calendar. Like it's a real thing. Like the fullness of my calendar. I'll scroll through like month by month in the backward direction just to kind of see, like, just makes me feel good. Like I'm a guy who does shit. And I say in the book too that I fantasize about having a room in my house that's literally wallpapered with my calendar from over the years.
So you can just see the productivity. You can see the workaholic.
Yeah, it'd be like a literal manifestation of my happy place.
But birthdays, I want to dig into this just a little bit. Birthdays are in blue. Why do you hate birthdays?
I hate birthdays because not only do they make me older, but they make my phone really annoying all day long. Like, bah, bah, bah. And then I feel obligated to respond to every single thing. And it's like, I don't want to be doing that all day long.
I think we can relate.
That's why I hate holidays, too. I extra hate holidays because you're not even working and getting anything done.
You can't be productive on Christmas.
Yeah, like I'm all about getting things done. That's all I care about.
And we'll
You asked me what do I read for fun, and I've actually processed that question now. Like I don't do anything for fun. I only want to get things done. I mean, that's not true. Like I'll watch like the UFC fights and stuff. I'm enjoying this Jeffrey Dahmer TV show, but I feel guilty if I even like watch a TV show. I don't like it. It stresses me out. I want to be accomplishing things.
No downtime. No unscheduled
Yeah, I don't
time.
want downtime.
I have to say, I relate. I relate deeply. So you're in good company
Yeah.
with me, and I think with this audience. Can we just zoom out a little bit? Because you wrote a book a few years ago. This is not your first book.
Correct.
What made you want to go through book hell a second time?
My first book was a memoir in the traditional sense. It came out in 2011. It's called Professional Idiot, a memoir. And I really think it's my proudest work. I genuinely, I'm genuinely super proud of that first book. And for this one, quite simply, as the years went by since the first came out, I thought, like, man, it's been a decade since my first book, and over the course of the last 10 years, so much crazy stuff has happened. I felt strongly that I had another book in me. But when I told that to my literary agent, she said, sadly, memoir part 2 is not a thing. and she said that you have to have some kind of an angle on it, it can't be a memoir. And so my response to that was, well, on my new tour, the first thing I say when I come out on stage is that I'm in a terrible situation. I'm Steve-O in my 40s. And, you know, it gets a little bit of a laugh, and I thought, what if I made a book that served as a guide to middle age? And that was where the idea was born.
You say there's only 10% advice in here, and I found more than 10%.
Oh, well, thank you.
And I think you will too. But let's talk about stand-up a little bit, because I think there are a lot of analogies for the business community, for entrepreneurs, the whole idea of reinvention. Can you talk about the decision to enter stand-up?
Sure. I kind of stumbled upon it by accident. It was 2006, and somebody invited me to a comedy club to do a stunt on the stage. They were promoting the show that night, and they wanted me to come and so that they could promote. I was going to be there and do something wild. And at the time, I was heavily under the influence of drugs and alcohol, and I gave it no thought, but I did show up that night, and I had no plan. Then when I walked in, I thought, there's nothing I could do that could possibly be crazier than trying stand-up comedy. And that was sort of a impulsive, on-the-spot, spontaneous decision. And waiting for my turn to get on stage, I came up with one joke. I said, hey everybody, I'm in the mood for a blowjob. Does anybody want one? And that was my first joke. And it got a laugh, and that's all it took for me to be addicted to the idea of pursuing. You know, I was addicted to the laugh that I got, and that was when the idea of pursuing a career in stand-up comedy was born. But it would take many years for me to actually get proactive about it.
Well, it's constant iteration, right? You go on stage, you try some jokes, some bomb,
Right.
You work on them, you hope they bomb a little less. To that point, I'm going to put you on the spot. Is there a joke that bombed the first time you were on stage and you rehabbed it and now it kills?
There's the one that I really make a big deal out of in this book, which I'm committed to basing my whole next tour on, which is one that bombed. It goes something like this. I have an unpopular theory that God hates us. I think that it's actually, there's something here, because as humans, we are the only living organism that is aware and can contemplate in a hypothetical sense that we are going to die. I think any other organism is sort of limited to like really being in the present. Like the idea of hypothetically contemplating a time outside of the present, I don't think really works as well. So it's only us that can think about our demise. Now add on to that, we have one instinct, which is to survive. But only one guarantee, we won't. So the one fucking thing that we don't want to have happen is the only thing that we can count on for sure. And as we barrel towards this inevitable, awful demise, we wilt, right? You know, our bodies deteriorate, fail us, our appearance goes out the window. I mean, imagine this. A banana cannot look in the mirror and think, fuck, I'm bruising. You You know, a carton of milk cannot be depressed about its expiration date passing, you know? But that's very much how I feel. My expiration date's passed. Sucks. So I don't know. Like the idea of confronting middle age is something that I'm still very much kind of chewing on and working on. And the idea of this of kind of making a comedy show out of the angst of the human experience and the deterioration of my body is something that I really I think it's challenging. I think that. It's something that I'm gonna fucking rehab until it works, yeah.
You got some chuckles here. I think you're onto something.
Well, thanks. I mean, nobody wants to think about their mortality. I think that that's a grave error. I think that, like, particularly in our Western society, the main objective seems to be to keep your blinders on, don't think about your mortality, and just la 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 la, and everything's going to be great. Whereas personally, I believe that it makes a lot of sense to be hyper-focused on one's mortality and be very deliberate about how we live out each day, so that we can look back on it and think, fuck yeah, that's how I wanted to do it.
Is that where the drive for productivity comes from, do you think?
I think that's got everything to do with the drive for productivity.
So we have a question here. What did your need to accomplish occur? Is there a need to serve as a distraction, or is it to give you a sense of fulfillment? It sounds like it's to give you that sense of, I did something with my life.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the idea of like being I want to feel like a winner. You know, I think everybody should want to feel like a winner. We spoke on the phone before, before we met, and I felt like our conversation that we had was really good. I said on the phone that, hey, if the conversation that we just had on this phone call was this presentation that we're going to give to the audience, I think it would be really good. And I remember focusing on like the idea of the meaning of life, I think, like the big question. It's personally offensive to me that anybody should consider the question, what is the meaning of life, to be some unanswerable riddle, to be some philosophical fucking conundrum. When I think it's painfully simple that the meaning of life is to get off your ass and pick one. Like, life is, the meaning of life, it's up to us to assign meaning to our life. And, what that means is we need to identify a goal, because one cannot accomplish shit unless first they identify a goal. And I believe that most people's biggest problem is that they have not identified a goal which they're super passionate about pursuing and accomplishing.
When did you decide to be an entrepreneur, and was that a goal for you? Because there's a line in the book where you refer to someone else in the Jackass community as, he was so entrepreneurial and I'm just an employee. But I would argue that sitting here today, you have a merchandising business, you have a tour, you are very entrepreneurial. Was that a dream?
I've become that way. I have. I have become that way, and thank you for pointing that out too. I never thought that I was going to live to be 30 years old. I really did. I just didn't. I thought I was going to fail at life, and then even when Jackass came out and I became known, I still thought that I was just going to flame out and die super young. So entrepreneurial, thinking was not part of my DNA. I wasn't saving for anything in particular. Like I didn't think that, I was just kind of like I want to be remembered forever, and that was the first 33 years of my life. It turned out to be, and then when I was 33 years old, I got sober, and it was 2008. It was like a perfect storm of terror because I had effectively burned every bridge in my career. Every project that was on my radar completely went away. My life was in shambles. I committed myself to this idea of being in recovery, and that seemed almost to the concept of recovery based on deflating the ego, like spiritual practice, humility. It seemed so against the idea of pursuing, of being Steve O in entertainment. I almost thought like, wow, can I even continue to have a career in the entertainment industry when recovery is all about everything but that? I don't know. I just felt that my earnings potential, if it had not already fallen off a cliff, was precariously, perched on the edge of a cliff. Plus 2008 was the financial crisis. Whatever I had saved was more than half gone. And the idea that I was going to be dead young was, now I was taking care of myself. And I thought, oh no, I might only be halfway through my life. And my earnings potential is maybe completely gone. And, like my savings and So it became a big priority for me to figure out how the fuck I was gonna eat for the rest of my life for the first time, And I've since become much more concerned with making good business decisions and being entrepreneurial.
I think one of the most interesting things you did was with your warehouse. You have merchandise, and you took the warehouse in-house because you were spending. Can you tell our audience about that? Because I thought it was a really interesting anecdote.
Right. I mean, the way that it played out, I got clean and sober in 2008, and I found since then that just different addictions have kind of reared their heads. Like my life has become a little bit of a game of addiction whack-a-mole, where I went from drugs and alcohol to really reckless, sexual acting out, and that was a big thing for me to address, because I subscribed to the idea that that for me to be happy and have a good life, I needed to learn how to be in a healthy relationship, and and to find a life partner that I can have stability with, and that took a lot of work, and I ended up really needing to dive into a sexual sobriety. And that was in 2013. That was my main deal. I went into this intensive therapy program to address all of my sex stuff. And when I came out of that program in 2013, I had to go back on my stand-up tour. And I thought, well, I'm a dead duck if I just think I'm gonna go out on the road and on my own. So I found somebody who was in the same sex program as well as the alcohol program, and I asked this guy Scott. I said, hey, can you come on the road with me and be he was a professional cock blocker. You know, I was like, can you just come on the road with me and just be with me to help me, you know, like, to help me not act out, you know. So we set it up for him to sell my merch after my shows. And I would be doing like a meet and greet and taking photos. And so like he was right there, and we would sleep in the same hotel room with 2 beds in this hotel room. And so took it really seriously. And I bring that up because that same guy, Scott Randolph, at that time, right when he came in, and it was January of 2014, and he was like, you're selling merch at your show, but you don't have a credit card swiper? Like, you only have t-shirts and a book? Like, and with Scott Randolph, we built this merchandising empire, kind of, you know. I mean, we sell fucking everything. Like, I turn my shows into a goddamn flea market, you know, like these days. We sell literally everything. And we started selling so much merch online that it no longer made sense to me to farm out the fulfillment of our online orders to a third-party fulfillment center. So I did get my own warehouse and warehouse staff, and so I've got my own fulfillment center now, and we've got third-party clients that we do fulfillment for as well. Like Johnny Knoxville, Chris Pontius, Tony Hawk, you know, the production company Dick House. Like I'm their fulfillment center for all those people. It's pretty cool.
It is cool. I'm glad you bring up Scott, because you write in the book that if there's one piece of business advice that you would give, and I think Scott was the example you were using when you said this, it's find people who compliment you with an E and not people who compliment you with an I. Can you explain why you say that?
Well, it's just, I think it's common sense. You know, you want to fill in your gaps. I had a conversation on my podcast with Mark Cuban about this, and we both, Mark Cuban describes himself as a ready, fire, aim type guy. You know, and I think I'm very much the same way. Just like, I get an idea, I'm excited, and I just do it. And I'm not strong in the administrative department. Scott Randolph is like, it's like yin and yang. He is the dead opposite of me. He's not like, not really particularly, I don't want to say he's not creative, but he's not creative. You know, he's very administrative, super detail oriented, like respond to email in like record time, and it absolutely compliments me.
Well, I would argue that administratively you're good at a calendar. I think
Yeah,
we have
okay,
physical
yeah.
proof of that. There's a great question from the audience that actually dovetails with something I asked you on the phone. When setting goals, does it ever make sense to set a goal so high that it may never be accomplished? And I asked you a version of this because when you said that you think not enough people have goals, I responded that I think some people have goals that feel so lofty and so impossible, it's easier to say that you don't have a goal than to speak something ridiculous into existence. So, does it ever make sense to set a goal that high?
I mean, this is like the ultimate no-brainer to me. Like, when setting a goal, you should be ambitious as fuck. I think that when setting, you know, and I'm not trying to be unrelatable in any sense. I would say that like when you're dreaming up, like, what do you want to accomplish with your life? Just absolutely let your imagination run wild. You know, like go ahead and be as ambitious as you want. Like, just for the sake of you know, being digestible. Let's just pick a hypothetical thing. Like, you want to be a big-time Hollywood movie director. Okay, that's a wildly ambitious goal. So now, as we map out the path to becoming that, like, first we want to make sure that we don't starve to death. So we want to look for gainful employment. And the best thing that I think that you could do is to find gainful employment in that world, which means that like a good entry-level job as a production assistant would put you in the orbit, in that universe that you want to live in, that you want to like work towards being in. And once you're in there, then, just get every claw in every little fucking thing that you can stick a claw in and claw your way up. And, maybe as the question asked, is it too ambitious? Hey, sure, maybe you become an associate producer, but work towards that ultimate. You can't be too ambitious in setting a goal.
I love that. We only have about 30 seconds left, and I'm going to take an audience question that's also my own question. You've done so much in your career, but what is something you've not yet done that you wish to try? What is next for Steve-O?
I think I'm gonna chew on this this next show that I'm working on putting together. What else do I want to? I think I've got my plate pretty full. I'd like to get better at podcasting. I'd like to be really kind of develop that. I think that anything which has more longevity in it. I was saying to Kevin Smith is this movie director guy, and I was explaining to him how terrorized I really am by middle age. I said, you got to understand that I am at my core like an attention whore in every sense, and we've got this dynamic in our society where people don't want to be reminded of their mortality. So being an elderly person, one could consider that a party foul. Like when we see elderly people, it has a tendency to bum us out because that elderly person serves as a reminder of our own mortality. And so we don't even want to fucking look at elderly people, right? We really have developed a system by which we just kind of like shoo them into nursing homes and not even look at them. And so I'm like, being an attention whore at my core, needing to be the center of attention, and being old where nobody even wants to look at me. Like, it's scary. It's really fucking scary. And Kevin Smith said, nah. He said, I can think of people who were like really old and managed to stay edgy and cool and relevant. He said, like George Carlin. He says, I can picture you, Steve-O, being old and cool like George Carlin. So that's what comes next for
that's
me.
What comes next.
That's what comes next.
Or maybe even a third book. But in the meantime, A Hard Kick in the Nuts, second book. It's excellent. We are out of time, but thank you so much, Steve-O. Thank you, Wendy.
I'm sorry. Thank you.